don't think I've ever been so excited for a masterclass in my life. Can you guys hear me okay? Everyone can hear
Yeah.
me? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
You guys, I am so excited to be here. And let me just take a look at who we've got. Hey, everybody. Hi. Okay, I'm going to go through page by page. I'm going to go through page by page. Manifestors, raise your hand. How many manifestors do I have in here? Okay. I love manifestors. I love all human design types, but I love manifestors because my sister was a manifestor and my whole life I thought we just didn't get along. Meanwhile, I was offering her unsolicited emotional dumps and batches of like 8 or 9 messages. So you manifestors are like, ee. Yee. Put this baby on ice for a little bit. All right, generators. Let me see my generators. Hands up for the generators. I'm a generator. Hey. Okay, cool. Manifesting generators. Okay. Love it. Love it. Projectors. Okay. Okay. And listen, projectors, you don't have to rain it. You don't have to rain it back with me. If I ask you for more information, feel free to dump it on me. I'm here for it. You do not talk too much. And then last but never least, this is the one where I'm really looking the most is reflectors. Where are my reflectors at? I always give extra space to the reflectors or keep a special eye out for the reflectors. And I'm just going to have I'm going through. Oh, you know what I can do? Aha. Okay, cool. I've made it so that nobody can unmute themselves. If you guys are on, is anybody is talking, if you could just put yourself on mute because I'm going through. Okay, Domino, you're a reflector? No, this is old. Who are my reflectors here? Do I have reflectors on this call? Okay, let me just look. All right, cool. Reflectors represent the 1% that I literally never forget about you guys. All right, let's bring it back to me. I just have to say something in Spanish really quick. Don't be alarmed. This call will not be in Spanish, pero a toda mi familia que habla español, de verdad, quiero enseñar en español, de verdad. Tengo esa notita en mi calendar. La única problema es cuando estoy cansada, no puedo hablar ninguna de español. Muchas veces en la mitad de una conversation me olvido todo mi español y estoy muy anal retentive. Quiero ser claramente en mis explicaciones. Entonces, si tengo algo que quiero enseñar y no tengo suficientes palabras, me vuelve más loca que nunca. Pero espero que en las próximas meses podemos tener un clase una vez por mes o algo así, en donde puedo practicar mi español con ustedes. Entonces, you guys will have to help me translate because everyone that doesn't speak Spanish is like, wow. But to me, I'm like, look, I'm kind of robotically putting the words that I know together, but I just got a message from somebody that was in English, but it was a picture from her notes app and I could see that it was in Spanish. And so I was like, oh, accessibility is something that's really important to me, and the majority of teachers teach in English, and even just the regular pace of English moves quite fast. So I wanna hold that space, but I just want to welcome you guys all so much. Thank you for being here on this call today. This is something that I have to be able to nerd out about these things, about being able to control your income as a spiritual entrepreneur, about human design, but the whole world of advertising and marketing is just like, for me. And we have a fucking stocked set list for today. This is actually just lesson 1 of Fuckless. And as we get deeper into the work of Fuckless, you guys will see why lesson 1 is the masterclass. But I have this poem. This has been framed on my wall for about 7 years. It's a poem by Rainer Maria Rilke. Some of you guys might know that my son's name is Rainer. And poems are a second level teaching, second level on par with like myth and parable, mystic poetry, not, I wouldn't say that like Young Pueblo is second level, but it's still very good. But because it's a second level teaching and my job is to initiate people into the second level, I'm going to probably piss off Rilke by explaining this stanza by stanza. But The reason why I wanted to start with this is that I feel like it very accurately describes the feeling and taste of what it is like to be totally authentic and the reward that you could expect to receive for this authenticity. So the poem says, I'm just going to explain it line by line. So even if you're like, oh, poetry, no, tuck and roll, I get it. But he says, I believe in all that has never yet been spoken. So he's saying, I believe in the creative force that has yet to express itself through the world and through me. I want to free what waits within me so that what no one has ever dared to wish for may for once spring clear without my contriving. He's saying, I know that I have access to this infinite creative source within me. And I want to release it because there are things that I want in my life that no one has ever dared to wish for. So I want you to just take a moment here and think about some of the things, and maybe please share them in the chat. Some of the things that you feel like you don't dare to wish for. For me, fame, recognition, a financial success story that makes people go like that's fucking crazy. Like when I heard that Tony Robbins had a $4 billion spiritual business, I was like, that's crazy. That's crazy that somebody could do that. By freeing the creative gifts that waits within you, you could wish for what no one else has dared to wish for without contriving, without pushing, just doing it like a channel. Then he says, if this is arrogant, God, please forgive me. But this is what I need to say. May what I do flow from me like a river. No forcing and no holding back. The way that it is with children. And I want you to think about the art that you so badly want to bring to the world. And I want you to close your eyes and imagine this work, this art flowing through you like a river. Flowing through you like a river, never forcing it and never holding it back. Just like the way it is with little children. And then in these swelling and ebbing currents, your creativity is going to rush through you in swelling and ebbing currents. And these deepening tides that are moving out and returning, coming out through you and returning to source. I will sing you as no one ever has, streaming through widening channels into the open sea. You are going to use your voice to sing a song of the great creation in a way that no one ever has before. Out from you, back to source, over and over and over again. And I know, got me crying already too. I couldn't decide for the longest time. My son didn't have a name for a week while we decided if we were going to name him Reiner, after the poet that changed I was a nihilist before I came across Rilke. Rilke introduced me to an idea of God that wasn't like, oh, I sing your praises, but was, I would come to find out, an erotic relationship. The great mystery, and not the bearded God that you know so well. The endlessly unfolding mystery, the black hole that you can never get to the bottom of. To me, that's hot. But I couldn't decide if I was going to name my son Rider Waite after the tarot cards or Reiner after the poet. It took a week to decide, but every time I see my tarot cards, I'm like, I wish I would have named him Rider Waite. But every time I read Rilke, I'm like, oh, like it does it for me. So I'm going to just point by point tell you guys what we're going over, and then I'll stop sharing the screen. But this is what we're going over today. And you guys all will have a homework recap, my manifesting generators that are like, wait, what do we talk about? You never have ADHD if you're a manifesting generator. You're just a manifesting generator. But this will be compressed into a homework recap. So if you want to make sure that you've really digested everything that we took in here, then you will have a chance to do that. That'll be available on the app. So today we're going to be talking about your market, the only content strategy that you need, your vanilla, your story, part 1, the biggest reason why products aren't selling, which is part of this greater category, the battle of essence and personality, which corresponds to something called the unio mentalis in alchemy. So don't worry, we go heavy into the esoteric as well. This trilogy of know yourself, trust yourself, be yourself, the function of launching and evergreen launches, the function of marketing, cold, warm, and hot audiences, active, passive, and neutral income, and active, passive, and neutral time. And then we have a little bit of HD to bring in as well. So let's get right into it. The Fuckless curriculum on the external side, this discussion that we're having here represents lesson 1 of Fuckless on the marketing side. Now on the inner side, we're doing an Enneagram like you guys saw in the book, and I need to make sure to grab my book from next door, is we start with knowing yourself, we move to trusting yourself, and then we move to being yourself. When it comes to releasing a product, we start with the market, and then we do the product, and then we bring it to the customer. So understanding your market and where you fit in the market and what is lacking in your industry that you have seen for so long where you're like, like everybody's just kind of talking about this, but no one's really doing this. All the music sounds like this, but no one's doing really this. In fashion, we're seeing a lot of this, but why isn't someone doing this? Like these little hunches that you have is exactly the space in the world where your gifts are really needed. And one of the most important things that you figure out as a business in whatever industry that you're in is, where do you fit in the market? What price, even if there's something like, okay, there's streetwear, but not at this price point. It could be something in relation to what the product is. It could be something in relation to how much it costs. For example, a big aspect of my positioning in the market is these higher level teachings have always been there. I learned them from other people, and a lot was revealed once the bandwidth was there. But I spent a lot of money to be able to get initiated into these teachings. I couldn't afford it. And from the, I was told by people, it's a money block. And I'm like, listen, call it whatever you want. But I know that no one loves free shit like rich people. The swag bags at the Academy Awards and stuff, rich people love free shit. And no matter how rich or poor I've ever been, I love a deal. If I go to a super fancy restaurant, the food was great and it was $40 a plate for appetizers, I'm like, okay, cool. But when I have something that's amazing and it was $3, it makes it more amazing to me. It makes it more amazing. So I love being able to position myself in the industry as not just being somebody that talks about these difficult teachings in simpler language. One of my rules is I just don't use big words. I just don't. And if it's a word that's coming up a lot, like surrender or forgive or allow or accept, I like to break down these words really small so that you can understand them. But I also like being someone that's more affordable. I don't have a problem paying a lot for teachings. I recently just spent 30 grand on 3 digital courses. That's no time, no one-on-one time, just individual courses on marketing and advertising. And this is why I'm so excited to do, because I'm like, you guys, I just spent 30 grand and 50 hours of time learning this. I'm so excited to be able to bring it to you because we should all know this, we should all know this. And the thing about my style with teaching is I love to teach advanced beginners courses because I've I'm a 6'3". I'm here to do trial and error. I'm here to make a mess of things and then tell you what not to do. But I'm someone that cannot avoid public humiliation and embarrassment in my life. If you're a 3 line, no matter what I tell you, you'll take it in. You're going to have to go and try it your own way. Maybe later on you find out that I was right. Maybe you innovate in a completely new way. But for the 3 lines, there just is no avoiding the public trial and error, the public humiliation. I don't feel like other people should have to go through this. I don't feel like it's fair for everybody to have to just throw shit to the wall and see what works, exhaust yourself on things that aren't lasting. So I'm really excited to be able to help you guys cut the line. So I was on a SEO call at 5 o'clock this morning with my SEO mentor, whose name is Neil Patel, and they were talking about the rise of AI and how, and these are very high level entrepreneurs, so they don't have any type of judgment or whatever about AI, but they were talking about the way that SEO, which is basically, it's search engine optimization. It's basically a way of guaranteeing that people can find your work for free without paying to put advertising right in front of their faces. It's a way of just understanding what the people are actually looking for so that you can supply the answers to that. And when you do stuff like this, which we'll teach you how in the course, then you're getting free marketing all the time. And it's super effective because someone asked a question, you answered it. It's not like sponsored post or anything like that. It's just right up, and it actually makes a lot of the legwork of creating content much easier. But they were talking about how over 50% of all the content that you see now is AI generated. And AI generated content, while it seems like so, for people that have difficulty representing themselves, for people that have a hard time, writing stuff because they don't know what their unique voice sounds like. There's brand new to them. They're trying to do it right. AI can seem like such a wonderful stepping stone. But the thing is that, regardless if you're here for a social media strategy, if you're here for content strategy, understanding how like the big internet works will explain to you a lot about how smaller social media platforms work, especially not smaller, but things like TikTok. TikTok is a search engine. People look for tutorials on TikTok the same way they would look for tutorials on YouTube, or they would look for tutorials on Google. And so understanding how like the big internet works, a lot of this is very much applicable to social media as well. And this is actually a really good thing for all of us because it means that your content will be reusable. Whereas when Instagram was the dominating platform, the way things went was your photo had like 24 hours of airtime and then gone. But as far as like an old post kind of coming up from the grave and bringing you fresh customers, this is something that YouTube has been doing for a long time, but TikTok is doing it. And if TikTok is doing it, Instagram will be doing it next. So, but here's the thing about AI is that AI content never gets pushed very high on the SEO food chain because AI can only regurgitate the information that is already available on the internet. It's artificial intelligence. It's not artificial consciousness. There's no such thing as artificial consciousness. Intelligence is a memory of all of the answers. Consciousness is the ability to ask a question, to ask a unique question, and open up this whole new playing field of what is possible. And I think that this is such an important time to know about stuff like this because anything that you're doing that AI could do, anything you're doing that AI could do is something that will eventually be replaced with AI. And this is really useful because this pushes you to your own creative cutting edge, to doing things that no robot could ever replicate. And when you do this, which is what we're here to do in Fuckless, when you do this, the chances of your content going viral or getting recognition or SEO working for your content is much higher because these are original statements coming through. And so even if we were to look at in like the spiritual conversation, let's say everybody's talking about inner child work, the inner child work that's like never done, it's a lot of like crying. I've been there. I was determined to innovate this. But if it feels like a lot of people are saying the same thing, this is a conversation that AI will eventually be able to take over. Hey, ChatGPT, write me a essay on inner child work. And it's like, blah, 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 based on all of the things that everybody else is always saying. And you have very, very, very unique work inside of you waiting to come out. But it's really easy for us to get stuck. I use this metaphor a lot, singing Hotel California over and over and over again. It's like the Eagles had a lot of other songs, but Hotel California was like kind of what they got stuck with. You don't want to get stuck singing your own personal Hotel California, because AI is, if a lot of other people are talking about the same thing that you're talking about, you're hungry for more, they're hungry for more, the internet is hungry for more. So it's going to benefit all parties concerned for you to be able to take yourself to your next creative level. And we do this over and over again. This is when active income, for example, let's say with your one-on-one clients, you're having the same conversation over and over and over again. Or let's say, because I like to hold special space for some of the different actors that come through here. Let's say that, actually, I will come back to this one later because I'll really branch off if I go down that road right now. But let's say you're having the same conversations with your one-on-one clients over and over and over again. And you're starting to realize that people are asking the same question, you're giving them the same process to do, and then you're starting to see the same results. This is what then gets moved into the passive income space. You say, okay, cool. I'm naturally starting to feel over having these inner child discussions. Therefore, I'm going to clone myself. I'm going to follow the spiritual duplicating principle that is contained in all things on earth, the desire to duplicate myself. I'm going to duplicate myself so that a video of me can walk people through this tried and true process. And with the extra time, and the thing about passive income is we're taking out the active energy in all of the places that it can be cut. It will still need a little injection of you at these specific moments in time to keep it running. But now with all of that extra time that you have, because these conversations are offloaded into the passive space, you can go to a new level with your active time, which is, okay, so if I'm not having inner child conversations with my one-on-one clients anymore, that means that I can go into the realm of sexual expression with my one-on-one clients. The type of things that you need some guinea pigs first, you need some guinea pigs first to be like, ooh, yeah, let's crack into this new stuff. That I'm doing before it becomes a method and can be passed off to passive income. So this is also something that we're doing in this course. But the main reason why a product isn't selling is because it's vanilla. It's vanilla. You don't want it to be vanilla. You're like, it's French vanilla, at least. And it's like, it's vanilla. It's vanilla. And that's okay. I see this happen so many times where people are doing all of the right things. They're doing all of the right things. They're launching, they're showing up in a way that feels true to them on social media, but they don't understand why people aren't buying what they're selling. And it's because it's not what people actually want to hear from you. It feels safe. It's something safe that you're talking about, something that happened a long time ago, or it's an unsolicited cup of coffee? An unsolicited cup of coffee? Yes. 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 Magic. So there's my husband, Magic. He's in the classroom with you guys for this whole course. I teach in the morning. He watches the replay in the afternoon. And Magic is going to be using Fuckless to
start my music career.
Yes, to establish himself in his music career. to find a way of being able to launch his products before there's even a product. This is what we're all working on. Magic is a 6'2" generator. He shaved for this.
And showered.
And showered.
Yeah.
And he will hog the mic if we give him any more attention. Yeah. So
I better give kids.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this cup. Wait, hang on. Let me try it.
Try it.
Daddy, this is a perfect cup of coffee. Thank you so much. I love it. I'm wearing clothes. I love, this is great. This is great news for me. Now, we don't want it to be vanilla. You know, we're like, look, it's something that you feel comfortable teaching. You're like, I teach aura readings. And people are like, great. You know, or you're like, oh, I do tarot readings. They're like, great. You know, or it's something, you have a following, but you're not giving the people what they're really asking for. So there is a law in spiritual teaching that says the question for the teacher is not, what do I most want to teach? When a product isn't selling, it's usually because the teacher has asked themselves, what do I want to teach? What do I feel comfortable teaching? What wouldn't lead to, you know, too many eyes on me? What wouldn't lead to me being labeled controversial? What would create the least amount of disagreements in my field? What wouldn't piss off my parents? What wouldn't make my ex-coworker from 6 years ago that follows me a little bit uncomfortable? And it's this world of vanilla. And vanilla can be found with AI. Vanilla can be found from just about anywhere else. It's like the stock flavor. And this is one of the main reasons why a product isn't moving. Now, your customers always, I learned this from an advertising masterclass with, let me finish that statement. The teacher does not ask themselves, what do I most want to teach? The teacher asks themselves, what do I most want to learn? What do I most want to learn? Now, what you most want to learn is your cutting edge. That's the next thing that you're going to be teaching. That's the next thing that you're going to be seed launching. What you most want to learn is going to be the product that goes through this magical octave of Fuckless with you. Now, to make the money, if you need a product that you can sell right now within the next 2 weeks, this is what have I just learned? What have I just learned 2 weeks ago? What did I just walk through? How to invest in myself? Did I just learn shame? What have I just walked through? But where you're going next, this is what do I most need to learn? And a lot of spiritual people, I would say that this is 80% of the spiritual people that walk through my doors. They're like, look, I'm teaching a line to my life. This is not my vanilla. I'm teaching people how to use sound vibrations to connect with the metallic realm. Nobody else is doing this. And I'm like, true. But let's bring in something that I learned from an advertising masterclass with the Budweiser Frogs and the Got Milk advertising agency. They said, you have to name the elephant in the room. You have to call out the elephant in the room right away. Whatever it is, the elephant will be changing. But if you can call that out right away, that's what people are paying you for. So I'm going to use some anonymous examples and some celebrity examples of this, of what your audience currently right now is asking of you. I recently had, and I hope she's on the call, a model reach out to me. This is somebody that had racked up a substantial amount of social media followers from her days as a model. Now she's trying to pivot to teaching, new age, self-development, all of that good stuff. Now, as a result, she has all of these people. She's been launching like crazy. Nobody is buying her products. And her products are, self-care, intuition, that type of stuff. But the elephant in the room in this situation is that all of these people showed up for an occupation that is considered to be, you look good, you don't talk. Shut up and stand there, be beautiful, don't say anything, be quiet. And so the elephant in the room, you have this whole audience of people that are begging to be taught something. And if the elephant in the room is we have a model that's speaking up, what people want to learn from you, and maybe it's what you most need to learn, is how to speak up, how to feel confident that like, I have something to share. I have something to contribute. To bring it to the 80% of people that make it to my school that are like, I've got these really great products. Certainly these are aligned with my teachings. It's like, okay, so what you most want to teach is the spiritual side of the things, but I'm taking one look at your patchwork pants and I know that what you most need to learn is how to respect yourself as an entrepreneur and how to get paid for what you do. I would say that this is 80% of the spiritual community that comes through my door. They really are comfortable with the spiritual side of things, but they can't. There's this belief that like all money is corporate money, all capitalism is bad capitalism, and that if they don't leave their bag unattended, no, that's not for me, that's not spiritual, that they can't be spiritual. And there's nothing spiritual about not claiming your birthright. There's nothing spiritual about that. Don't leave your bag unattended. Somebody else will take it. Claim your bag. And so this is people can very easily see the elephant in the room with you. Can you see your own elephant in the room? Can you see what the elephant is in the room is on your own journey? We were doing this with my husband this morning. He wants to establish himself as a producer. This is what this round of Fuckless is for him. Now, if he was doing things the way he would want to do it in his head, it's like, I'm going to go behind closed doors and I'm going to make all these beats. And then when it's ready, I'm going to say, ta-da! My daughter is 3. She's a super, super girly girl, but for some reason, I don't know where this came from. The first time she heard ta-da, she like, ta-da, like that. And so she'll be like turning around in her like tutu, like, watch my, Sagittarius, watch what I'm doing. And then she finishes her big thing, goes, ta-da, like this little gremlin. But that's my husband's plan. I'm going to go behind this door and I'm going to come and I'm going to reveal myself, say, this is my product. Now the clear elephant in the room, if you were looking at somebody that's like, I just make beats all day, the elephant in the room is, must be fucking nice, must be nice to be able to just sit around making beats all day. That must be so nice for you to have all of your bills covered so that you can just cruise around, tinkering around, not having to worry about money and just making beats. So because he's starting his social media from scratch, he gets to address the elephant in the room, which actually opens up his options for teaching. Maybe a small amount of people want to learn how to make beats. Maybe a small amount of people want to buy the music, but there's a whole lot of people that would love to learn how to make space for their creative projects when none is issued to them. So if he changes how he's showing his content, not just saying when the finished product is ready, I'll put it out there and see if people like it or not. That's called a reveal. That's not launching. Revealing doesn't even work that well. But when you can show people piece by piece, I'm a dad, I'm busy, this is what I'm doing basically all day long, but I have this while I'm out walking with my kids, I'm building the song up here. And when I'm washing the dishes, I'm building the song up here. And then when I finally sit down and put my fingers to whatever, device I have, the song just comes through. And it gives you a lot more opportunity to create content. And people always, this is a law, one of the sales triggers that we'll talk about later in the course at 0.5. But people always want to buy whatever it is that they helped build. You guys see me wearing a shirt a lot. Einsters and Neubauten, they were the first, not the first industrial band, that was Psych TV, but they did something really original. And the original thing that they did was they created the first crowd-funded album. They had it was very expensive for them to be a band because they would do these performances with instruments that they had created themselves out of garbage cans and PVC pipes and all of this stuff. This is before Stomp the musical. And they would only perform these concerts in buildings that were going to be torn down. It was very, very expensive. It was hard for them to get shows. And it was also record labels had put too much pressure on them. So this was in the very early days of the internet. Blixa Bargeld, the lead singer, who a lot of you guys know from Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, he was in that band. Gorgeous. But his girlfriend was like super internety, and she was like, let's crowdfund this. Let's use this brand new thing called the internet, and the fans can pay to create this album. And in return, they'll get to see footage of you guys in the studio, just tinkering around. Basically, we'll just put up cameras in the studio so that people can be a part of it. Not only did this completely change the game for Einsters and Neubauten, who were about to break up as a band. They were about to be like, we just can't do this anymore. Don't like the record label pressure. Don't feel like we're really innovating here. It's starting to feel stagnant. They were able to create this whole new world of success for themselves, where there were guaranteed sales of all of the records already, advanced sales, plus the fact that people had watched this album be put together. It had created super fans. Not only that, but Neubauten, I love this band. It was like niche goth punk world, but not only that, they were able to really change their live performances using the actual crowd as an instrument, because the crowd knew the song so well from being in the studio with them over and over again. There's like early 2000s internet, so it was very, like chat room with green letters type of shit. They knew the song so well that when they came to these performances, these totally bespoke performances, they could act as an extra instrument singing specific parts. It became very collaborative. And so people always want to buy whatever it is they help build. And one of the hardest things about tapping this as an entrepreneur or a teacher is feeling okay going in front of your audience saying, I don't know. When we're asking ourselves, like, what do I most want to teach? We say, what do I know? This feels very safe for me. This feels very nice and vanilla for me, because I can stand up here and say, I know. But to come forward and say, like, this is actually where I'm struggling right now. I'm actually struggling with money issues. I'm actually struggling with being able to market myself. I'm actually struggling with being a bit jealous of my best friend because she's famous and I'm not. I'm actually struggling with these things. First of all, what you really needed to know will come to you in this space. Second of all, people are like, look, I'm also struggling with this. Can you figure it out for both of us? Can you make this better for both of us? And you start warming up the audience way in advance, so that before you ever release this next product that represents what you most want to learn and what you will be releasing next, you've already warmed them up. You've already been launching it. There's already a queue of people waiting to buy. It's a lot more sensible than working privately and then revealing something with no vulnerability and be, ta-da, it's done. And they're like, yeah, literally nobody asked for this. Like, none of us want this. When you experience that of working really hard behind the scenes and then displaying it to the audience and nobody cares, it really makes you feel like you're not talented. And anything can be engineered to become successful, literally anything, with persistence and, just being able to assess what didn't work and modifying it next time, which we'll teach you how to do throughout this course. It's really easy to engineer things to be successful, but when you don't know this and you're doing product reveals and not product launches, it really starts to wear on you as an artist, because you just think that you're not good at it. It just makes you think that you're not good enough. So let's just pause and revisit these 2 bits of homework that are going to be in your homework recap. The first one is, what's the elephant in the room with you? And now, I looked at mine for a long time, and I don't really know what the elephant in the room with mine is right now, but what I can say, it probably has something to do with, like, how do you know the things that you know? Like I would say the biggest elephant in the room with me would be like, source, trust me, bro. And that there's something that I need to bring in. And that's like, this is how I know these things, or just make that clearer. Even one reel that's like, here's how I know what I know. Spoiler alert, I did everything the wrong way. That's how I know. But that'll probably be the next piece of content that I do. So that's the elephant in the room. And when you can call out the elephant in the room, that's you being bulletproof. That's you not caring. That's you being like, all right, if you break a story yourself, it's not a scandal. Think about when Rihanna, when the paparazzi was going to leak a picture of her son from the Vogue shoot, like a paparazzi showed up on Vogue, they were going to leak the first pictures of her kid. And so she just put a TikTok up of her son. If you break it, their story doesn't have power anymore. So whatever it is, I actually did one-on-one coaching with this lady that really didn't want this to be true. She had a story that she didn't want to come out that like wasn't even that bad. Compared to the shit I've done, I'm like, girl, this is not even that bad. But I was like, break the story. And she afterwards was like, I really want you to do trauma work. I wish I would have gotten a trauma session instead. I was like, if that's what you want, we'll make it happen. It's no problem. But the answer wasn't in the trauma work whatsoever. There's not this like magical process that you can do that'll make you feel like not vulnerable when you're being vulnerable. That's the point, is to be vulnerable. That's the point. And the weird thing about vulnerability is that if you say to the world, we talked about this in the book, but if you say to the world, like, don't bite me right here, because if you sever this vein, I'll completely bleed out. You're saying it about you, but you're also saying it about them. You're saying that like, I could hurt you the same way that you could hurt me. But by me trusting that I'm safe with you, you can now trust that your secret is safe with me. So vulnerability invites vulnerability. Your being vulnerable makes somebody else vulnerable. Even if they don't show it, even if they're like triggered, defensive, that's what it's doing. So vulnerability really is the seed of strength. Vulnerability is the highest form of bravery. And of course, miracles, they say, in my defenselessness, my safety lies. In my lack of defenses. Like people say whack shit about me all the time. They're usually right. They're usually right. Things don't, they're at least 50% right. They're at least 50% right. The truth is not, I'm the worst mom ever. The truth is not, I'm the best mom ever. The truth is I'm doing the best that I can. If you called me the world's worst mom, you wouldn't be wrong. If you called me the world's best mom, you wouldn't be wrong. And I live in the middle. I'm not swayed by either of these. And this is a really nice place to be in, because if you're doing work that's not vanilla, it's going to be heavily criticized. People are going to love you. People are going to hate you. And then there's going to be people that should just look you in the eye and say, real, recognize real. I'm not crawling up your ass. I'm not trolling you in the comments. Real, recognize real. You learn to be impervious to the super fans that'll go around and be barbs to somebody else, and you ignore the trolls as well. You're just doing it. You're just doing it for you. But if it's not being criticized, it's probably vanilla. If it's not being criticized, if people aren't calling it controversial, if people aren't saying you're crazy, like it's probably something that AI could write. And if we want our content to stand out, it's really easy, but you have to know about this little piece. It's not what do you most want to teach, it's what do you most need to learn. So spoiler alert, like this is where we're going. So I want you to just stop and assess for yourself in your life right now, like what are you not allowed to talk about? You guys can put this in the comments. I've gone through Fuckless many times. The first time I wasn't allowed to talk about politics. Now I ripped that Band-Aid. I'll never talk about politics again. But one thing that I can say is I'm so happy I went through that phase of being really psyoped in 2020, which was another thing that I couldn't talk about. I went to, like granola, alt-right, pipeline, Hari Jivan, Kundalini community, and doomsday, like not something that I'm proud of, but now something that I can talk about and be like, watch out, people. It's real. You get demoted to the exoteric really easily. But I'm really grateful for that moment in my life because it made me that's when I just fucking stopped caring. I knew that whatever I said would piss off 50% of people. And I did it anyway. I was like sick, because if 50% of people are going to go, ooh, that's my person, and 50% of the people will go, you should be institutionalized, worked for me. But other things I wasn't allowed to talk about after that was the fact that I had been sexually abused by my brother. I was like not allowed to talk about that. That was without a doubt the hardest turning of this same magical process that we're going through. Extremely hard for me to talk about that. The next turn of the wheel was talking openly about being psyop, and this one is talking about disciplining your kids. This is something that this is still something that I don't want to talk about, that I'm like, oh, can we just not? There's so much hate with it. And the thing is that there's been a lot of moments in my parenting journey that I wish I could take back, but I'm going to break this story for myself. And just talking about it a little bit has brought so much, like I literally was just living in shame. I was literally just living in shame about it, because the first rule of shame is you don't talk about shame. It's like Howl's Moving Castle. I don't know if you guys have seen that. It's my favorite of all the Ghibli movies. But in Howl's Moving Castle, she has a curse put on her, but she's not allowed to talk about having the curse, because if she talked about having a curse and said, I've been cursed to look like a hideous old lady, people say, what are you talking about? You're beautiful. And she would know that there was something in the way she was seeing herself that wasn't correct, that didn't correspond to how other people saw her. But the thing about shame is you get cursed with this, you're not allowed to talk about it. So keep it all bottled inside. Never stand up and say, I don't know, but I'm going to figure it out. Never hear yourself say what it is that you most need to hear. Just keep it all bottled up inside. So I want you to identify for you, what is something that you're just not allowed to talk about. Someone here says, people ask me all the time, why am I single? And it's so annoying. I feel like it's the elephant in the room because I avoid to talk about that. Yeah, that's a really good elephant in the room. And just think about, like, if we could, and this is something that we work on in Fuckless, using your messaging. What's the unique angle that you're here to bring to this? Like, why is somebody like me single? Let me tell you, I feel like this would be a reel that would stop me in my tracks. Be like, wow, this sounds different. This sounds like something I haven't ever heard before. What are you not allowed to talk about? The fact that I'm totally deconstructed from religion now. I'm in the Bible Belt. And when you don't talk about it, it's still up for debate with you. When you talk about it, you're like, bomb, 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 bomb. Let's get to the bottom of this. And I'm really happy. In 2020, I started a group called Conspiracy Lovers Anonymous, because I was like, and even though, it could get really crazy, I was like, you guys need to hear yourself talk about these conspiracies and not just keep them private, so that you can see if it's starting to spiral out. We've got a QAnon video here that says, this is Rihanna practicing Satanism, but it's a picture of Tyra Banks. Like, we need to scroll it, and if there's no space where people can talk about the inconsistencies in their argument, it can just whirlwind out to being this whole thing. So whatever it is, being willing to stand up and say, I don't know, but let's figure it out. I was going to use a celebrity, Gabri. Does anyone here follow Gabriette on social media? Gabriette's like a goth. She's cool. Gabriette is, she's like a model, but Gabriette used to be like normal body, like classic, like Latina body, curvy, definitely not supermodel thin. Now she's like supermodel thin, obviously, because she's a supermodel, but her TikTok is just her like eating all day long, like eating like crazy, all time, no rhythm or rhyme to any of it. Every carb, every food possible. And the elephant in the room is, girl, how did you go from curvy to thin eating like that? And whatever it is, there's no right or wrong. Whatever it is, if you can be authentic about it, like, listen, I'm open taste. I eat one thing a day. My whole day revolves around that one thing that I'm eating, and that's my trick. I eat once a day and I film it, and that's how I eat all day long. And join my human design eating group, or join my this, or my food tracking app, or, whatever it is. There are so many people that want to pay you for this, for the secret, but a lot of people just never tap that. It didn't used to bother me so long until it didn't used to bother me until I was determined to drop, like, I gained 10 pounds when I became an entrepreneur, and they just like wouldn't budge no matter what. And so I became determined today to like make the adjustments in my life before I got, or this year, before I turned 40 to find out like what worked for me, and realizing that like when it comes to just stubborn weight that will not move, it's going to require a sacrifice in some area of your life. I get so frustrated when people that are like body goals are just like putting everything. I'm like, there's a fucking secret here. Like, you gotta tell me. This is gonna keep me up. This is gonna keep me up at night. My love for Kemetic gods. You know, for a long time, I wasn't allowed to talk about Ifa, which was a religion, a Nigerian religion that I was super connected to, that I'd had these super big transcendent experiences with. And at the time, I don't teach so much about Ifa anymore, here and there. And when I do, I love it. But the elephant in the room, we're always commenting the elephant in the room. What does a white woman know about a Nigerian religion? Where did you learn this stuff? And I was so indignant, and made it this whole argument that it wasn't about, this is not about race, this is not about things, instead of just being willing to come forward and say, I learned it from a priestess that saw me as an equal. I was never initiated in it. I never paid money to do it. I literally just vibed with it. That would have so easily shut down the conversation, but it was something, I had this little block. It's like, you're not allowed to talk about it. So I just didn't talk about it. So people are always telling you what the elephant in the room is. The elephant in the room is something that you're not allowed to talk about. You're not allowed to talk about it. And spoiler alert, for you to be happy, you're going to need to start talking about this. There's always a way to do it respectfully. There's always a way to do it elegantly. There's always a way to do it without outing anybody else in your circle. But is there a way of doing it without pissing anybody off? No, there is not. And at the end of this course, at point 8, right before point 9, somebody in your life is going to come out of the woodwork and say, I don't want your laugh. No, I don't want this version of you. I don't like this version of you. I really want you to go back to faking it. I want you to be the person that you were before. Now, luckily, when this happens, it's after we've been through the majority of the course, right before the finish line. So it will be too far to turn back. You'll be like, girl, I could not put that heavy coat on in this hot room again if you fucking paid me to. You don't like how I am? You're gonna have to go. There's no way around this. Nobody wants a writer in the family. Nobody wants a documentarian. Nobody wants a sex teacher, but here you are, and here we are. So what's it gonna be? You or the people that don't want you to change? Because you're gonna have to choose. And you're gonna have to choose at the end of this course. So not at the end of this call, but at the end of this course. So that's the direction that we're gonna be going in. All right, we're gonna go through this next little bit pretty fast. And I'm just gonna pull up the share screen so that you guys can see where I am. And just because we're keeping we have things on a timeline here. If you guys have questions, I might have a little bit of space. If we go 30 minutes over, that'll be when I'm able to do questions. But we also have the Q&A chat. So you can go for the rest of the month of February. You can ask any questions that you need. So this is where we are right here. So in life, and you guys can learn, Safe House students, if you like this little teaser that we're talking about, you can learn more about it in School of Unified Spiritual Laws. The lesson's called Battle of Essence and Personality. But in life, we have two things. We have two things that are mediated by life itself. We have our soul, which is our essence, and we have our personality. Now, one of these has to be active and one of these has to be passive. Now, when your soul is active, there is no bullshit that people have to go through to just talk to the real you. Now, my husband's like naturally like this. When I met him, I was like, this guy's got no personality and it's the best possible thing. Like no bullshit, no fluff, no pickup lines, no crap, just there, looked me in the eye, wasn't intimidated by me. And I was like, ooh, sold. When the soul is active, when you're speaking from your soul, it directly communicates to somebody else's soul as well. So that's when you're having a very real conversation. It's a soul to soul conversation that's happening. It's not personality inviting their personality to come out and talk. And there's the same thing I was saying about vulnerability being willing to expose your soul, attracting vulnerability from others. Jim Carrey said, I did something that made people present the best side of themselves to me everywhere that I went. What a gift is that? You have this ability too, to in every Uber driver, in every family situation, every cashier, every weird mom at the park, like you have the ability to hack people and to get their best self, to hear the most interesting conversations. Like you have the ability to do this by setting an example and doing it yourself. Like all small talk you're in is 50% your fault. You don't like small talk, shut the small talk and don't do it anymore. The antidote to small talk is depth. You can bring that. You're 50% of the conversation. Talk is a 4-letter word for intercourse that ends in K. It's the same way you'd be responsible for 50% of a fuck. You're responsible for 50% of a talk. And if you're just finding out now that you're responsible for 50% of every bad lay that you've ever had, my workshop, Erotic Wealth, Autoerotic Wealth, is also included in the Safe House subscription. So the thing about setting something passive, the same way that we talked earlier on during this course about taking your active income, I'm looking at new, hey everybody, I'm looking at new people on the Zoom now. Hey y'all, hey Turban, Hazy with the turban, I love that. Hey, nice to see you guys. So the same way we talked about earlier on in this call, there's all magical process. So we're always going to be talking about, triads, 3 forces. We talked about taking the active income and making it passive, which means you're taking your live energy out of it. It's not like the spokesperson for the whole operation, but you're not losing the income. You're keeping the income. You're even growing the income and making it better. It's just not requiring the live time and the live commitment for you. We want to take the personality and set it passive. We want the personality to work for us. Personality is a wonderful thing that you can bring in to relate to, let's say that somebody is all personality. Let's say, have any of you, on your spiritual path realize that you make people really uncomfortable with being yourself? And maybe it's someone like your dad. You don't want to make your dad uncomfortable. You don't want your dad to be uncomfortable. This is when having a little personality in the back pocket comes in really handy. It doesn't mean it has to be the whole relationship. It doesn't mean it has to be the whole conversation, but personality is really useful for relating. I know people that are very deep down the spiritual path, very, I would say these people don't have a personality as well, but they never laugh. They never laugh. You guys know like Buddhist trained people that have been on like Buddhism for a really long time. They're like, life is suffering. You're like, beer, and I don't even drink, but there's no laughter, there's no, and a funny, interesting thing about laughter, that laughter is your mind trying to comprehend if something is a yes or a no at the same time. So somebody's slipping and eating shit on the ice. You're like, yes, this is funny. No, this is wrong. Yes, this is funny. No, this is wrong. And this involuntary, where you literally lose control of your body. You're like, I can't, until I can categorize, is this a yes or is this a no? Just a classic conflict of life. And crying is also you trying to process a yes and a no as well. Am I okay? I'm not okay. Am I okay? I'm not okay. So when you use humor in advertising, when you use humor at all, if you can and personality does help humor happen. We want it passive. We don't want it being, I'm the class clown, but we want it to be able to work for us. If you can use humor, and everything is funny eventually. Literally, any straight tragedy, Woody Allen said this, he's not Goals, but he said this and it makes sense. That comedy is tragedy plus time. Now, I don't know if he's laughing about marrying his stepdaughter, but I think that this statement does hold up, that everything can be funny eventually. That with time, you can have a laugh at all of these different moments that you went through. But when you use humor in your content or in your advertising, if you're paying for advertising, people get shown your ad once. But if your ad is funny, they will replay it over and over again in their mind while they are trying to digest if it's a yes or a no category. So just, Humor is very useful, I think. So life is what mediates essence and personality. Life is the neutralizing force between essence and personality. Now, you always know when you're dealing with essence because essence doesn't have likes and dislikes. And personality is basically nothing but likes and dislikes. I love it when this happens. I hate it when this happens. I love compliments. I hate criticism. And when your personality is active, you're super insecure because you love compliments and you hate criticism, and you can't handle that you'll just be getting all of these all of the time if your work is getting any level of recognition. So what we're doing in this course on the internal side is we're just gradually setting personality passive. We're not deleting it. This is not abort mission. We are just setting it passive so that it can work for us. And this makes you a lot more confident because in alchemy, the foundation of the work starts with something called the unio mentalis. It's just like at the Oracle of Delphi, they say, know thyself. That's the first rule. Know thyself on one hand, nothing too much on the other side. Now, when they say know thyself, it means create the unio mentalis, create the one mind. This is the essence. Personalities all fight with each other. And personalities come one after the other. Your personality is not one personality. It's a patchwork of other people, other jokes, this, that, all of these different things. They all disagree with each other. People don't know who they're getting from you because none of the personalities are authentic to you. They're just bits and pieces of other people that you thought were better than you. And you're like, if I emulate them, I'll get what they have. And it's sad. It's sad that we all did this. It's sad that we all learned usually before 7 years old that if we're not getting what we want, we could pretend to just be somebody else. And maybe then we could get what we want, because certainly who we really are is so bad that, you know, we just have to fake it. It's sad that we ended up with this, but you know what? These are heavy coats. You take the heavy coat off, you feel better again. So this is not, we're returning to who you really are. We're not like building some new person. But unio mentalis means one mind, not all of these different warring personalities, just one person. And this is what it feels like to be relaxed in the essence. So this is what we're going towards, but this is a magical process. You don't get a result. Like if I say that this unified version of yourself comes in at 0.6, you're not allowed to hit me up at 0.3 and say, where is she? She's coming in at 0.6. Who we're dealing right now with is setting the personality passive. So it's always when I say things are going to get hard, things get hard at the time that they're supposed to get hard, but I know it's coming, you know it's coming. And when we know it's coming, we're not like blindsided by it. But on that same trajectory we're going, the first step that we're going to be doing is knowing ourselves. Who am I? Then we're going to learn how to trust that person. And then once we know and trust this person, then we can be this person. And it won't be a question for us of like, is this enough? Like, am I doing enough? So that's where we're going with this. All right, let me have a sip of this coffee that my husband brought me. Okay. So the function of launching. So now we're just going to we're going to segue a little bit into business. The function of launching is just to educate people on what they need to know to buy your product. So let's say that you have a product on overcoming jealousy. People need to know that they're jealous in order to buy that. If you have a jewelry company, something that sells rings, something people need to know is what their ring size is. You can't go shopping online for a ring without knowing what your ring size is. If you're selling a workshop on sex magic, then people need to be educated that what they're currently doing, that those magical 2.5 minutes are not magic. So the function of a launch is just to educate the customer. And this is so fun. This is so useful because the conversation that you've been having over and over, kind of prepping people, you get to put that into a passive form, like a book or a video or literally anything that you want to do. You know, even if you were working in like a fashion company, let's say that you hand stitched every single one of these t-shirts and you just couldn't do it anymore. You get to be like, all right, Quality is going to be a little bit different if this is no longer handmade, but the good news is that I don't have to keep stitching these shirts. A lot of people can get what they want at a cheaper price point, and it will get them used to my product so that they're like, ooh, if this is what she did with $30, her $300 product is going to be amazing. So it's you priming the customer, educating the customer. This is all that launching is. We'll talk more about this in next week's lesson. But for whatever the product is that you're launching, a launch is just about educating people. And you guys, how many people read the book? How many people read the Fuckless book? Guys, I had so much fun. I'm really surprised at how many people there are here that haven't read the book. You guys, such a good primer for this. It's also on audiobook, but some of the things that I just really felt like people needed to know was like, before we go into a conversation about marketing and human design, we need to talk about what marketing is. We need to talk about what human design is. And we need to make it clear that we're not currently being authentic, and that's okay. And that's okay, but we have to know where we are to know where we're going. As my Hochi Pants here says, we cannot grow what we don't measure. That's Daryl. Thank you for that soundbite, honey. But that's all that launching is. Launching isn't being sleazy or being like, you gotta have this. Launching doesn't have to be annoying. Launching can be fun. Launching can fit you. And as somebody that has a lot of experience with just like hating launching and feeling really drained by it, now I know how to launch like me. And I literally have so much fun doing this. But I break all kinds of launching rules that people make. You know, they're like, oh, you've got to do this. You've got to 21 days of straight emails. I don't write emails that are good to read 21 days in a row. And at first I was like, oh, am I going to lose my audience if I stretch this launch out from, you know, day one, they get the book, 22 days later, we're having the masterclass. But I was going to be like, let's do this masterclass on the 14th. But I'm so excited. I was so excited to teach this because I just gave myself time to do it. I was like, if I'm going to be doing, I really need to demonstrate what launching on brand looks like. Not forcing and not holding back, just like loving the flow of educating people on this problem of yours that I get to solve. And it can be really, really, really fun. And I just want you to know that, like, there's no rules. The only content strategy and the only launch strategy that I'm going to be giving you in this, and of course we break these things down into step-by-step chunks, but just bring high value content. Go hard. Trends don't matter. None of that shit matters. Just what is something that was a for you, and share that with people. Just make high quality content whenever you want, however you want, but make things that you feel like are really useful to people. And if you don't feel like what you're doing is useful, then you're probably just living in your vanilla, or you are not clearly seeing the value of what it is that you do. So for people that are enrolled in Safe House and get the opportunity to ask me questions, I would love to be able to answer everybody's questions, but I have so many students, I would never be able to answer them all. So we do Q&A exclusively to people that are in Safe House, but this will be a nice, and Safe House is $200 a month, $2,000 for a year. You save $499 doing it that way. But the nice thing about the Q&A is that if you have a unique situation where you're like, I just don't really understand what the value is of this thing that I'm doing, you can bring that directly to me, and every Friday I will answer your questions, either live or via text. We have that every single Friday in my school. Because there are going to be these moments. Like I worked with a jeweler for a long time that just, actually not that long, just classic one-on-one coaching. But she initially, when we started, she just couldn't see the value of being an artist. She thought that jewelry was stupid. She was really passionate about creating it, but she just didn't see how it actually served in the world. And on the journey that we went through, you know, the entire concept of desire and delight, which are not basic human needs, but they really are human wants. And learning how to lean on how okay it is to just want things, and how, you know, jewelry is manicures for people that can't maintain them. So, you know, when you're in the mom trenches doing dishes and you see that little glimmer on your finger and you go, ooh, like that gives so much. There's so much value in it. So everything. Rumi says, let the beauty you love be what you do. Let the beauty you love be what you do. So what do you love? Like, what lights you up? This has something to do with what it is that you're here to do. So, and something else, for those of you in the class that are really familiar with launching, maybe you've done a lot of launches before, what we're going to be working on in this course, it'll seem, if you're experienced with launches, it won't seem that difficult. If you're brand new to launching, you might feel like all of this goes into a launch. Couldn't I just like go live 3 times and do it that way? You totally could. Anybody could go live 3 times, do a short open cart, throw shit to the wall and see what sticks. This is what I did for years in my business. The only problem is that none of this work could ever go passive. These launches could never be passive. So if I wasn't actively launching stuff, there was no way that it was circulating around through the internet, guaranteeing to take people through a marketing funnel that took them from uninterested to sold. And I was just having to do fresh launches over and over again, which actually burnt me out to the point where I was like, I can't fucking look at these products anymore because I've launched them so many times. And I burned my whole first business down because I was like, I just can't fucking do it anymore. So the process that we do in Fuckless is quite a bit slower, and we do focus on a marketing funnel from the very beginning. The nice thing is that these launches, and you guys will watch me do this in my business this year, but these launches, I'm setting them evergreen as I go. So I'm basically opening up the funnel and then organizing it in a way where people could come in and enroll at all different times of the year, and they'd go through the same experience that you've gone through here with me. It just wouldn't be live. It just wouldn't be live. But the nice thing about that is that the quality of the work is really good. So now these things are attracting SEO all throughout the internet. People are constantly coming into the funnel. And when you're on a cash injection business, it's like money high, money low, money high, money low. And even with launching, once you've been doing it for, I'd say like 3-4 years, it can feel like, you're only getting your injections of money into the business when you're launching. So as you move into steadier evergreen funnels and evergreen launches, you see less of the up and down, which is exciting in its own way. Like the thrill of it all is, entrepreneurs love, it's that little bit of that little peppering of childhood trauma, or sometimes, spilling the whole entire spice packet. But we love, we say chaos, home sweet home. So the chaos of going up and down with money is still possible with launching, especially if you're not folding and putting away the launch as you go. You're just kind of doing it ad hoc, throw. And we use this term, throwing shit to the wall and see what sticks. Nobody wants shit on their walls. This is not the business plan that we're going for. Like, we don't want ideally we'd have no doo-doo on the walls in our launching process. We want to find a way to make it, we don't want shit, we want Chanel. We want it to be good from the very beginning, if possible. So it's definitely a bit more work, but you'll have a much more effective launch. You'll get way more money off of the same amount of work. And then the thing with evergreen launches is that you start to see slow and steady growth. But once it starts hitting that upwards trajectory and you're like, okay, I didn't go from 0 to 3 million, but I went from 20 grand, 25 grand, 30 grand, 35, 40, 45, and you're just seeing this like compounded steady growth. To mature entrepreneurs, this is something that feels really good because you can step away from it. It's not like weight loss, you lose a bunch of weight, gain it back really fast, get a bunch of money, lose it really fast. This is slow and steady growth, which can't be shaken and can't be taken away from you. So just knowing, whether you're totally new to launching or you're really experienced with it, if you're experienced with it, then let's start getting you ready to leave this behind, setting it evergreen so that you can focus on what it is that is really meaningful to you, or your next cutting edge. But if you're brand new to launching, it's like, let's just do it right. Let's just do it right for the beginning so that you can use this launch over again. This first round of putting the launch together perfectly, it'll feel like a lot of work, but the second time, you're just moving the pieces around the board. You have the lead magnet, you have the video, you know what people are looking for, you know the customer, and then the next launch is so much quicker. This first one might take you months to complete, But the second one, once you have the pieces already, it'll be a no-brainer. So with that in mind, whoever is doing Fuckless this round, I want you to just erase the concept of behind from your vocabulary, because some people are in this course that already have their lead magnets and all of their pieces and will be able to move through it at a rapid rate. But they already did a slow version of this, putting the whole thing together. There's other people that it's going to take them a long time to get, it might take you a couple of weeks. It might take you at 0.5. It might take you 6 weeks to 2 months. It took me 6 weeks to 2 months. And that's okay. But just erase this concept of behind from your vocabulary. Yes, the calls are live. Try to be on the live calls, but if your homework isn't completed in time for the live call, that's okay. We had to put a schedule to this workshop, and I had to make sure that the fast movers weren't waiting for me with their product ready, but there's just no concept of behind whatsoever. A lot of people that are in my school are taking this simultaneously with another workshop like Mesoterica or Wheels Reinvented to upgrade their teachings. Some people are doing this with Autoerotic Wealth to make this the first launch of their new empire, where they are doing things professionally and no shitty walls. But this is not something that you got to feel like you got to rush through. It's a magical process. So you go to the next step when the homework is completed. You don't go to the next step when the video is over. And for all of the people that are like, look, I just like to take in all the information and then I go back and do it one by one. I let a lot of people do this last round. No, this is a magical process. It's different than any other workshop you'll get from any other person. It doesn't give that same results. Don't binge out the episodes. You have me live for Q&A if you're on Safe House every single Friday. So we have that live time. You don't need to worry about making the live calls. I make things specifically for online. Our replay game is really strong. Our homework recaps are strong. Our Q&A is strong. There's not bonus points for being on the live thing. I get to see you, which I like, but that's about it. And then we're just about done here. The function of marketing, which you guys read about in the book, the function of marketing is not to be the biggest dick salesperson in the room. Marketing is simply making your customer feel seen and feel heard. That's all that marketing is making people feel seen and heard. And when you're vulnerable, people say, I feel seen. Oh my God, you just described what it's like to see me. And if you go and look in the comments of all of the human design videos I did, the projectors, the manifesting generators, all of those ones, go and look in the comments, because there's so many comments on each one that says, I feel seen. Wonderful. Now I have my Q&A chat to help you feel heard. This is what I'm here to do, but this is what marketing is. So any idea in your mind of like who you have to be, which personality you're going to have to conjure to handle the marketing, it's none of that. It's soul to soul, seen and heard, baby. Seen and heard. I love Lighthouse. I love this new name. Oh my God, that reminds me. Where did I put since you're here, I just have to tell you about and your name is Lighthouse. I just have to tell you guys about the difference between a tugboat and a lighthouse. These are like the two main kinds of entrepreneurs. Like there's the tugboat, and a tugboat can pull one boat at a time. And if you heard tugboats talking to each other, they'd all be like, oh my God, you should have seen the way that this one boat was stuck. And the tugboat goes to the boat in question and pulls them out into a better place. And if you asked a tugboat what problems they were dealing with, it would all be like, how can I be a stronger tugboat to pull a bigger rig, or to be able to pull more boats? But it's all really in this kind of like one-on-one mindset. And tugboats are very, if you ask a tugboat, what do you do? A tugboat's like, I tug boats, I could tug you, but want to tuggy, let's go. Yeah. And it's very, it's a thing. Now, a lighthouse is very different. A lighthouse stays in one place, doing one thing, and simply just being who it is, just standing here, shining its little light. It directs all the boats in the sea. It's not trying to do all of these different things. It's not saying, you know what, I can change my tugboat capacity to help somebody in a situation as unique as you. It's saying, I do this one thing and I do it really well. And I stay here, I'm magnetic, people come to me, this is how I'm doing it. We are not cold calling people in the DMs. We aren't doing any of that. We're just standing here, shining our little light, and the people come to us. And if you asked a lighthouse what they did, a lighthouse would be more likely to answer, I do a lot of things, but what's going on with you? Here's how a lighthouse can help you. But it's listening to them first and not just being like, tugboat, tugboat. So do you want to be a tugboat or do you want to be a lighthouse? Let's see, 2 fingers, two for tugboat. Daryl, the balloons, and 1 for lighthouse. Do you want to be a 2 tugboat or a 1 lighthouse? Yeah, that's what I thought. Dana's not sure. I see your little 1 finger under the desk. Yeah, and it's totally fine to start out as a tugboat, but tugboats get tired. All right. So, but that's it. Making people feel seen and heard. Now, a lot of you guys have done, this will be the last thing that we cover here. But actually, no, I'm not going to discuss cold, warm, and hot audiences, active, passive, and neutral income because, well, I'll do this really fast. No, there's no way to do this really fast. That's going to have to get moved into lesson 1 because I want to be able to answer some questions. And you guys will see this on the whole Fuckless curriculum. We'll be like, all right, well, I was going to go over this here, but that'll be a better suit for next session. We will talk about active, passive, and neutral time, but I wanted to bring in the human design. So let me just grab my Fuckless book. 1 second. Got it. So we went over a lot of stuff in the Fuckless book, but in this particular, in the paper version, you can fill in all of the answers. And we have, let me see, where's the empty human design graph? We're going to get to play human design bingo as we work our way through the course. I don't know if any yoga teachers in the house, and yoga or massage therapists, they would kind of make you do this homework book called the anatomy coloring book. Anyone know the anatomy coloring book? Where you would have to like color in the different muscles and stuff. But when you color it in, you remember it like really well. You're like, oh, I've got this muscle or I've got this thing. So that's what I wanted to do with human design is make sure that you guys can color in these different areas and see, oh, I have this thing, I have this channel. When you color it in, you'll really remember it about yourself. But we covered quite a lot of things in this book. And so I just want to recap what social media posting looks like for the different types. For manifestors, whenever you want, the keyword is not worrying about how other people would feel about it. And if there's one thing I would say to manifestors, if there's one piece of advice that I would like to give to all of the manifestors of the world, it's that it's so nice for you now that you know what it means to be a manifestor. You're like, finally. But the majority of people don't know what this means. And you have to, the fear of being rejected or that you're not asking people for permission when you're informing them. You're not asking people for permission. You're just giving them more information. And sometimes the information they need to know is, what the fuck is a manifestor and how do I treat you? You have to tell people in words they understand how it is that you want to be treated. And it's totally safe to say like, look, I kind of just do things my own way. Look, how you feel about it isn't really my concern. And, luckily this comes naturally to a lot of manifestors, but that's the one thing that I would say to manifestors is like, yes, you have to inform people even on what it means to be a manifestor. Because a lot of people come across this title and they're like, finally, I don't have to fucking talk to anybody anymore about what it means to be me. And it's like, what? Well, I would definitely rethink that. For all of the generators and the manifesting generators in the house, you post when you're inspired. You post when you're inspired, and you're inspired. You're like here to be the talk show host, the commentator on what's going on. So don't criticize yourself for loving the tabloids or browsing around on X or social media in general. Like you get inspired by this for sure. And you know when it's a right fit for you, but don't let other people, some of the best no holding and no holding back, no forcing and no holding back for you generators and manifesting generators. Don't hold back because it's 3 a.m. Don't hold back because you just posted. Let her rip. Let her rip. It doesn't all have to be Chanel. You're here for the volume. You're here for the volume. Even if it seems, and for the generators and manifesting generators, let's say that you're like mid-launch, and like, let's say that I'm launching Fuckless and I really want to share something about erotic wealth, but it's just not in the conversation we're having right now. I have notes going in my phone all the time of the different content ideas that I want. So like for here, I've got the wheels launch, and these are all just little prompts of pieces of content I would like to make when it's time to launch that next workshop. And because I'm here to respond to things, when I see these prompts, I remember exactly what I was on about. And I'm like, cool. And I can get excited to do it right then. But for the generators and manifesting generators, one thing I would say to you is that rest is how you know that you're on the receiving end of universal blessings. If you're always doing something that you can say, oh, I got results because I was always doing something, you can't really self-guarantee that you just are on the receiving end because you are. So for the generators and the manifesting generators, don't underestimate the power of a good fucking Kaka TV day. Like, I don't mean you got to sit in baths and meditate or anything like that. I mean, if you want to watch Real Housewives for a whole entire day, like, this is fine. You need the rest. It's good for you. It's fine. I know you could work at any time, but like, resting is helpful. For the projectors, you will post when you're clear about like the guidance that you're offering. Like you have an idea simmering around for a while, you want it to look good. It's totally fine to take as long as you need to get that piece of content out. That piece of content is going to be the Chanel. And it's safe for you to use tools like advertising, even just boosting posts, which I can't do because both of my ad accounts are disabled for being me. But even just boosting a post for like $20 will boost it to the people that are just following you, but not seeing your content. So it's totally safe to engineer these pieces of content that you put a lot of work into to be successful, and if it doesn't seem like they're getting the right traction, don't hesitate to put a little $50 on yourself and boost that post to the people that are following you. That's where it goes with low budget, is just the people that are following you, really. But to the projectors, what I would say is when you post that piece of content, I know that you get bitter because people have rejected what it is that you've told them. But the only reason they rejected what it is that you told them was because they didn't invite it. But social media is an invitation. They're following you. They're here for it. It's all right. People might get a little bit triggered by your power, but this is what you're here to do. Inform us away. Give us the long caption. Give us the fucking carousel post with text in it. Give us your notes up, although, you might not like the look of that, but it's totally fine. We are here for your information, so let her rip. And then for the reflectors, it's so easy. If there is one thing that I would tell reflectors, it's that I know you don't feel like it's fair that you should have to wait a lunar cycle. I know. But I worked really closely with a reflector that she just couldn't trust herself. She just couldn't trust that it would all get done in the lunar cycle. She just couldn't. And working with the generator coach wasn't really a good match for her, because she's like, look, I just want to have the energy that you do. And as long as she was talking to me, she would get that energy, but it wasn't hers. And I know that it can be so frustrating to have to wait to get clarity, but people aren't clear until you're clear. The collective isn't clear until you clarify it for them. So it's totally safe to go on live streams and talk it out while you're getting that clarity. That's totally fine. But when it comes to what product you're going to be launching next, you have to reflect, what did I learn in the last lunar cycle, and what do I think I most need to learn in this next lunar cycle going forward? And I had a series of really expensive sessions with my human design guide to get her the exact schedule for when, because for reflectors, you can find the exact schedule of what day am I going to be a projector, what day am I going to be a manifestor. It's extremely complicated. It's very difficult to track. It's so much easier to just trust that it will all get done, but no forcing and no holding back. So when you wake up as a projector, Don't fucking make yourself do generator things. If you wake up as a projector, it's not the day to go stand in line at the fucking post office. If you wake up as a projector, get that pen and get comfortable and get the information out. So no forcing and no holding back, but you do have the capability to do all of these different things. But the concept of like your routine and your schedule, just put it in the fucking garbage can. It doesn't, file it under G, garbage, basura. It doesn't apply to you. You're different. You're the 1% that's different. And I know the reflectors are like, I don't want to be the unicorn. I just want to be normal. You're never going to be normal. This is reality. Deal with it. And let's make it work for you. So with that in mind, I'm going to give you guys one more piece of human design that you guys may or may not know. So if you have, and I would love to see this in the chat, but if you guys know what your human design environment is, I'll describe them and then you guys can go look them up afterwards, but it is on I'll show you where it is on one of my charts and then you can see it for yourself. But your environment is where you get the best ideas. So we are right after this call. Today is Thursday. We have this call at 11 a.m. These are 10 standing dates with me for Fuckless. Next Thursday at 11 a.m. We'll be right here. It's going to be a different Zoom number. You can see it in your Fuckless workshop. But every Thursday at 11 a.m., we are going to be here continuing the course. So it's time to make a decision on if you're going to be in this class for this year or not. I was very happy with how Fuckless was shot before, and now I learned new information and I'm happy to share it. But I don't think that I'm going to be getting new mentorship on advertising and marketing for probably like the next 2 or 3 years. I'm still working with this coach. I'm still implementing. I'm going to have fun playing with these pieces. So there will not be another live round of this for the foreseeable future. So if you want to be a part of the live round, this would be a very good time to do it. But I see everybody eventually. I'm not in my vanilla. You guys can't get this anywhere else. So if you're like, I really want this combination of like deep esoteric study, hardcore business tools, and to be able to learn about human design, like you can only get it here. So I'll either see you this round or next round, or it's not something you want. If it's not something you want, that's totally fine. You can make me eat a banana if you fucking tried. I don't want bananas. So that's totally, but I'll see everybody eventually. But this is we're going to have so much fun. And you guys, if you want to buy, you just go to mommyonami.com. And when you go to mommyonami.com, you go to the business section and you do Fuckless, or you do mommyonami.com / let me use Wiley's chart here. I'll do this guy. I have so many charts on my human, but mommyonami.com / Fuckless. That's Fuckless without the U. And you buy it there. It's $8.99. There's a payment plan. I believe $250 times 4. You save $100 when you pay in full. This is included in the Safe House curriculum. So just this workshop is $900. School with me with Q&A for the whole entire year is $2,000. Now I'm going to show you guys this. I use Maya mechanics. If you're serious about human design, this is what all the teachers use. It's not much more expensive than any of the other ones. Well worth it if you wanted to do it. I think a lot of them have like a 1-week trial. You could always just swoop on in, get your chart and the free trial, you'll be fine. But when we go over here to advanced, down here, environment, where it says here, shores, this is where your best ideas come. So environment, shores. Now there are many different, these are where if you need content ideas, if you need, I don't know how to make this bigger, if you need content ideas, if you need literally a good place to make your reels, anything like that. But if you need to make this decision and you're not sure, we went over the different authority types, how to find out if this is the right thing for you. But it can be helpful to go in your correct environment and get the clarity you need to make something happen. So my environment is kitchens. I feel the most clarity in a place where something's being transformed. So the laundry room, where things go from dirty to clean, I get great ideas. Cleaning my house, transforming it from dirty to clean, being in the kitchen, a bar, a studio where you're transforming things, best ideas come. Some people, so we've got caves. Caves is all about your little nook, your little nook. So caves have one entrance. You can see the entrance, but no back door where somebody could come in and ambush you. So for a cave dweller, for somebody who's the environment is where your person meets the least amount of resistance. So all of the resistance you have to new ideas and figuring things out is irrelevant to you when you're in your environment. You'll be able to think really clearly about what it is that has to be done. So caves is all about the little nook. Like for somebody with cave determination, empty out your closet, turn it into your little meditation nook. What we're looking for is something with one entrance, no surprises from the back, a little bit cooler than other places. This is you. Some people have, let me see who else we've got down here. I can't wait to see. Wish I could say, it's okay, there's a replay. Don't worry, you can go to work. Beaches. So it's not beaches, it's shores. And shores is anywhere where there's like two very different environments touching one another. So this could be something, and there's two sides to everyone. There's an active and a passive side. There's, artificial and real. We won't go into that today. But shores is, anywhere, water and sand, creek and land, even something like a stage and an audience. Being on stage, you're right here, but the audience is right there. Two very different vibes, but this is where your body meets the least amount of resistance. Then there is valleys, and valleys is wide open spaces. If you're in valleys, if you're a valleys environment, it can be helpful to not to turn away from the person that's speaking to you or to look somewhere else. You don't need to be looking, if you have valleys determination and you want to instantly forget what someone told you. My husband has this. So when he took our daughter to the dentist and the dentist was saying the next procedure that was going to be done with eye contact this far away from his face, it's just in one ear and out the other. Someone with valleys likes to hear it from a distance. It's a very acoustic way of it. You're always kind of listening to what's going on. So for example, my valley's son is very sensitive to music playing because he's listening to what's going on in the house as it is. For example, he feels safe hearing my movements in the kitchen where I'm in my environment. But if I play music, he can't hear me bustling around. That fucks up his ability to, it leads to resistance in his space. Mountains is literally from a height. So if you're in New York City and there's no mountains nearby, rooftop, walk over the Williamsburg Bridge, but you have that clarity when you are up high looking down at things. And a lot of mountains people just move to mountains eventually, take a hike. Markets, I'm like surprised that I'm not a market person because but the truth is that I become very stimulated in markets, especially when I'm like eating bags of chips in the grocery store, which is not really on brand for me, but my mom did it. But markets, the tianguis in Mexico, talk about a market, the open air markets in Asia. Market environments have the most clarity when they're in places where a lot of different stuff is going on, lots of different vendors, different smells, different experiences. And this can also even work in an online space. Like if I show you, if Daryl's here right now, she'll think this is interesting, but I'll share my screen and show you guys my notion because somebody with market determination would probably really like this. If I go up here to, of course, make me look good notion, make me look good. If I go over here to my active projects, this is gonna, where somebody with market determination would probably love to be able to see how all of these different projects are going on at once and who's working where and who's doing once, like the mix of all of these different textures and experiences. Like this is where a lot of clarity happens for somebody. Is market the clarity and the chaos? I mean, any one of these things could be the clarity and the chaos. But I guess it could be. I don't have market environments, so I don't know. But I do know that when I'm in kitchens, especially like when I was working on the line, be super busy, the ultimate clarity and chaos. It wasn't chaos for me. Just quite simply wasn't chaos for me. It was very calming. I met very little resistance in this place. So for everybody, that's going to be your human design homework between this week and next. is, can you go and get in your environment and just see what kind of ideas come to you? Where do your best ideas come? And if you're, this is the first lesson of Fuckless, you guys can always go and look at the homework recap, which will be posted in, about 20 minutes. And you guys can see everything that we went over here. So everybody can go home now if they want, but I'm going to be here to answer some questions.